All right, guys. It's a different microphone, so hopefully it's still good. I hope it's loud enough too, because I'm not sure if it is. Sounds okay. All right. So I was I was in the car with my dad heading back from the airport, and this was probably it was sometime last year. But we were heading back from the airport, and he was talking about a trick you can use to be the type of person you want to be, basically. And he said the way you can be a better or be the person you want to be is by imagining this boardroom uh, and or conference room. In this boardroom conference room, you have tons of different people sitting in there, or maybe it's just a few, but you get to pick those people, and it could be someone from a book, could be someone from a movie, could be someone from history, could be someone alive today. But these have to be people that you admire, that you look up to. Like when you think of them, you you want to adopt uh, maybe one or more of the traits that they have because you want to have it because you think you would make you the type of person you want to be. And so I started thinking about this, and I was like, well, who who are the people that I would want to have on in that boardroom for my own personal meetings? And it was Maximus Decimus Meridius from Gladiator. It was Tristan Ludlow from Legends of the Fall. Who else was it? I'm trying to remember. Um, it was one of the Sackets from Louis L'Amour's book. Man, I think his name started with an A. It was one of the Sackets, and it was someone from. Oh, it was Charles Knight from Doug Casey's uh, book series, and basically Charles Knight is he's the main character, and there's three books out now. It's Speculator, uh, Drug Lord, and Assassin, and it would be hard to really explain those without giving things away. So, but I recommend the books because they're very very good. But Charles Knight, whoever the Sackett was, I don't remember his name. And the Sackett, that guy in that book was awesome because he traveled into part of the American West where no one had been before, and just dealing with the problems that you would expect that type of man to deal with. And then I think there was it was based in the 1600s, and at the end of the book, he ended up saving this Native American girl who he ended up marrying, and then I remember there was like some mammoth or something at the end of the book. I don't know, but he was very cool. Oh, Jubal Sackett. That was the name, not an A, a J. So that was my boardroom, and by having this boardroom, every time I would uh, come to a spot where I was wondering what I should do, my dad would say, "Well, once you have this boardroom of people, then what you have to do is go, what would this person do? What would Maximus Decimus Meridius do? What would Tristan Ludlow do? What would Jubal Sackett do? Or basically any of the Sacketts in that series. They're all respectable people. But you have to come up with your own personal boardroom. I remember one time I kind of lost that, and I need to get back to using that boardroom again because it's very helpful. But one time uh, we had just fired our casero for our ranch, and a casero is basically a ranch hand, and uh, so we had to move all the cattle ourselves, which for unexperienced people is difficult. I was on a horse. My dad was in a side by side, and my dad's fiance was in a side by side as well. So we just looked like idiots running around trying to get these cattle through a gate. And they just had calves, and the calves are idiots. They don't know. They don't. It's like they don't see or don't really understand that there's an opening like 10 feet wide right there. Not 10, 8 feet wide. So even though their mom will go through, they have just no idea. So the calves are stuck on the other side. We have to get them back with the moms because otherwise they're gonna starve and die. And it's a mess. And we're yelling at each other because we're all mad. It's frustrating. My dad is uh, driving crazy because he's mad, and it's so insane that these calves won't get through this pretty big space between the fences, and I'm riding the horse probably a little too hard, and everybody's mad. And eventually, we came up with a plan. We stopped and came up with a plan to get some of the calves over to the field that the moms were now in, and we had some. There was another gate into that field, uh, so we lost the calves in this like little forested area. So we're like, oh boy, now we have to go through and move the calves. We have to find them. First of all, we have no idea where they are, and we don't know what's gonna happen. Also, sorry if the video is laggy right now. Sometimes the internet's just not great here. But in that moment, I just remembered, oh, I have to go back to my personal personal boardroom because I was upset. My dad was upset. Jane was upset. We were all pretty annoyed because it's annoying when you're not that experienced. I mean, I'd moved the cattle and some of the sheep as well a good amount of times with the casero before that, doing it on horseback, obviously. And so I understood certain parts about it, but still I didn't understand how difficult it could be without someone who's done that their whole lives, or their whole life. So it was it was rough. Um, but in that moment, I was like, oh, I have to I have to just think what would Maximus Decimus Meridius do? What would Marcus Aurelius do? What would what would any of these guys do who I admire, who I look up to? Whether they're real or not, alive or dead, I still have to go back to these people because I know that if I don't, I can end up being or acting a way that I don't want to act. And by using even movie characters or characters from a book, you are able to give yourself a clear idea of the type of person you want to be, which I think is it's like a cheat code to becoming the person you want to be. It's so crazy. But we we got I think there were four calves that had moved over. And these calves, they just what calves do is they go back to the spot where they last remember their mom being. So when you try to move them and they don't go through the gate and their mom is gone and they lost their mom along the way because they're in this big herd, then they just go back to the spot, which was for those calves, just in the middle of the field, and they just stand there and wait. And when you try to go up to them and move them back to the gate, they'll go right back to that spot until they get freaked out enough, or when they hear their mom moo, basically. Then they'll try to move over to where their mom is. But that's one really annoying thing. And usually, when people are moving cattle, like on a cattle drive, what you have to do is you have to keep going back, like circling back around. You have to have people circle back around to get the calves and push them up again because they lost their moms in that massive herd, so they have no idea where to go or what to do. So we lost about four of them in this forested area, and luckily there was this like kind of corner where the gate was, where we could push them through, and eventually we got 3 of them through, and we have no idea where the last one went, no idea, and unfortunately, I guess we'll probably find its body somewhere in that forest part of the property at some point. I have no idea. So that's not good. But we were able to get them through eventually with a plan. And once everyone calmed down and we weren't yelling at each other, saying, "No, go over there. No, what are you doing? Stop driving that crazy. Stop moving the horse that way." Because it's so difficult sometimes. So, but what helped, the important thing is what helped in that moment is recognizing who you want to emulate and doing it consistently to where you adopt the traits of that person. That's the important part about it. So that's just one thing I learned from my dad when, just by going on a late drive with him one time. And I believe that actually comes from a book from Napoleon Hill. I think it comes from Think and Grow Rich. But I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I just want to talk about that. I'm sorry, it looks like the frame rate is really terrible on the video. So on Friday I'll be sure to restart the internet, because that tends to at least keep the frame rate alright for a longer period of time. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys got something out of that. I hope you guys understand a little bit why it's good to have that personal board meeting, that board group, to where you can go back to and sometimes talk to them. It was actually Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich where he said he would he understood these characters he had in his mind so well that he would be able to have conversations with them. So getting to that point where you consistently talk to these people, these characters in your head, or characters from history, characters from books or movies, and being able to use that to your advantage to be the person you want to be is important. Have you ever done any content on the flaws that destroyed or greatly hindered great men? Napoleon's hubris, Thomas Cochrane's political naivete? No, I have not, actually, but that is a good idea. I will write that down. That would be a good video to do. Flaws that destroyed great men. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. That is a good idea. I've not done that, but I will. I will make a video on that eventually because I just have my list of video ideas, and that's a good idea. That's a very good idea because it's also nice to understand what people got wrong so that we don't do the same thing. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and that's it for the stream today. I did want to mention again, if you don't have notifications turned on for the channel, then please do. I think only like 5% of people have notifications turned on for the channel, and I also have a Substack where I post every week like a small summary of a great man, as well as I post basically every time I upload a video as well. So keep it up. I enjoy your stuff, very similar to the podcast, How to Take Over the World. I keep going to history for mentorship because most adults these days don't give me inspiration. I I can relate. I spent I spent last summer in a place where I saw a lot of people, where I saw what most parents are like nowadays, where all the all the dads care about is finishing up work for the week, beer, watching football, going to their son's baseball games, and that's it. That's all they care about. Nothing admirable. And it's a similar story with the women as well. So I appreciate it, Ben, very much. And I'll have to check out that podcast too, How to Take Over the World. But yeah, I agree. Looking at history is the best way to do it now, unfortunately. But the good thing is there's a lot of great men to look to in history. So, but yeah, thank you, Ben. Again, I appreciate it. All right, guys.